working, we seem to be up and working again. So thank you for bearing with us. Obviously, here we go. This week, we're talking about how you can improve your service and how service gets improved as you progress through various business levels. So as I look at things, it looks like I'm the only thing on camera. Good news and bad news, I'm the only thing on camera here. Let me switch over and share the screen with my wonderful slides. Why? Well, what we're doing this week, we are talking about how we progress through business levels and what that means for your business. Because the things we're going to focus on as we go through our different business levels, that's going to dictate what we should be focusing on and how we can build out service. Why? When we look at what we're doing as a new business, it's going to be a different thing that we need to focus on than when we're at state or at level 10, level 100. And so that's going to dictate what we're doing. Next week, we're going to talk about management. Management, I like to think about management as being the flip side of service. Basically, service is what we do to deliver our product to our customers. Management is going to be what we do to deliver the work experience to our employees. And then the week before Christmas, we're going to be talking about developing your expert status. If you are familiar at all with Mike Whalen and his lawyer forward concepts, essentially, this is what we need to be thinking on. So we're going to draw a lot from Mike Whalen. Mike has also in turn picked up things from David C. Baker and Blair Enns, so we will have lots of references to them as well. So the next thing, as we jump into it, it's worth just jumping through and thinking about, again, when we put this all in context, businesses are selling to customers a product. The customer is looking for some sort of experience or a thing. Well, what does that mean? This is a very easy and simple idea that we all take in. The business sells that product. That's what that black line going over to the customers is. The customer is trading their dollars for that experience. So whatever that looks like. The business, though, of course, does a little bit more than just sending that product over. They've got three big tasks they're thinking of. Marketing, which is one-way communications out to communicate what your business is doing and the problems they solve. Sales, well, we're taking that conversation. This is the next step when we move from marketing to sales. We're having a two-way conversation where we're deciding with that customer, do we make sense for each other? Is this a good fit for both parties to engage in this transaction? Then finally, the third thing, we're selling that product. We're not just selling it anymore, we're now delivering on it. So how do we deliver that? The customer is still receiving that experience. So when people say customer experience is everything that a client receives from the business, it's going to include everything from marketing to the sales experience to the actual receipt of that product. Everything goes into that. And service, it's all part of this. It's all kind of subsumed into how we're delivering all of that. Well, when we think about our product, we've talked about this before, physical component, technical component, and a service component. So what is the client buying? Every business has a mix of these three items. So physical thing, anything they can pick up and touch. The technical component, when the business is being paid to do something or to know something for the client. And then service is really how that's delivered. What are you thinking about, like, for service? Your people, the qualities of the delivery, and then how consistent are you in delivering those business qualities? So are you doing it every day in and out? Every client gets the same experience? Or is it that, we're really good on Mondays and Thursdays, but Wednesdays and Fridays, it's hit or miss because we've got the different people in the office that day. So if you want to put some thoughts on what to think about, when we're talking about physical components, it can be broken down into how much are we giving, what's the amount of stuff we're giving to clients. We're also going to think about the perceived value received by the client. So when we hand a thing over to the client, what do they value it at? It doesn't matter that we spent $1 on something. If the client values it at $10, that's their perceived value. It's not the amount that we have paid for it. It's what the client thinks they've gotten. And finally, you want to think about how unique is the item. Is this something that we just run to Walmart and buy a bag of 100? Or is this something that we've handcrafted for them and there are really only one or two of them around? So how unique is it? So when we think about physical components, the amount, the perceived value, and the uniqueness. When we think about technical components, there are three things to think about there. Again, the base level knowledge. What are the rules of the game? What's the base of how this works? Then we step that up. Level 2 is going to be skills. What skills? How do we implement that knowledge? So going from knowing the rules of civil procedure to knowing how to format that motion for summary judgment so it gets filed and accepted by the court. And then finally, expertise. This is the level we're all looking for of we want to be valued as a technical component business. We're here as experts, and so we need to be delivering on that expertise. This is knowing when to file the motion for summary judgment, knowing to file a motion for summary judgment, or to do something else. And because I'm not a litigator, I'm not going to pretend to know any of the other words. But again, there are three things to think about in those technical components: the knowledge and the skills, which are ultimately becoming more commodified, and then our expertise, how we deliver that knowledge and skills. That's what clients are paying for and really is harder to replicate. And as a technical service business, as lawyers, this is where we make our money. People come to us for our technical skills. They're not coming to us for the physical components. And the service that we'll get to in a second, it's important, but it doesn't matter what level our service is. Ultimately, people are hiring us because we are technically competent. So again, the third component is our service component. This we can think about in the way our people behave, like who are they? Are they friendly? Are they not so friendly? The delivery components. Well, you're getting a product. How is it delivered to you? Is it clean? Is it, are there many, is it open to anybody, or is it more restricted? Thinking about the luxury experience of this product, things like that. And then finally, our consistency, part of the service component. How often are you delivering this? And just what frequency do you get? Is it every time? And so when you mix all of these together, different businesses will be one or more, or will have one primary component. You're either going to be a physical, a technical, or a service dominated business. And how you ultimately fall out in those components will dictate a lot of how you're going to act. So a physical component business, again, this is Lego. They ultimately are trying to deliver a physical product to you. They're going to raise their technical and service components. But at the end of the day, people really want that physical item. Now, they can try and say, well, look, our experience is going to be better. We're going to improve the packaging so you enjoy opening it, and the experience that you have when you're building it, we're going to make that better. But ultimately, it's an on-off. Do you have the thing? Yes or no. For the technical component businesses like lawyers, they want access to our knowledge. We are being hired as outside mercenaries to come in and achieve a result. Plan an estate, get a divorce, adopt a child, fight for you in criminal court, file that lawsuit, or defend you against the lawsuit. They're not looking for a thing. They're looking for a result. And ultimately, as long as you're going to deliver it well, that's what they're looking for there. They want you to come in and operate as that expert, skilled provider. Finally, service providers. Well, those service component heavy businesses, we're thinking about Disney and Four Seasons. They're focused on providing a great experience. The technical component businesses, they want to save you time so that you can go do other things. The service businesses, they're going to make sure that you're spending your time well. And I'd like to think of this as, well, if you had a free Saturday, you would go to a service component business first. You wouldn't, you say, oh, I've got a Saturday, I want to get entertained, I want to have some fun, or I want to get pampered. Those sort of businesses, those are service component businesses. That's the hallmark. People want to spend their free time there. And so what you'll notice is lawyers aren't going to ever fall in this service component business. It doesn't mean that we're bad or wrong. It just means no matter what we do, the way that we're positioned is to be expert providers. And because we're expert providers, we're here to move needles for people and achieve results. People aren't ever going to say, man, I've got this free Saturday. I'm going to head on down to the lawyer's office and buy 3 gallons of legal. I'm just looking to have that. They had the greatest experience before. That's fine. But the problem is a lot of the instruction and writing out there is all about how you can take your business and make it this wonderful service experience. You just crank the client experience up to 11 so that the clients just, they want to yell about you to everywhere. And while I don't ever want to be confused as saying make it a bad experience for clients, what I do want to say is we can't get distracted into thinking that people are ever going to come and hire us for our services, our service component, when we're lawyers. We're here to be the expert providers, and we need to be focused first on being those expert providers before we can deliver on that service. So again, just to go back through things, physical, technical, and service components, these are the 3 different products that we've got. Well, once we know what we're doing, it's easier to kind of break things out into what's going on, because the business has marketing, sales, and then the product, which is composed of physical, technical, and service components. We're going to need to think about, well, the expert status is really one of the hallmarks of where are you in our business levels. We talked before about a level 0 business. This is you getting cast off the end of the pier into the ocean, and you are just struggling to survive. The only thing you really care about is can you get enough money in to make sure that you eat your next meal? When we progress to level 1, well, this is like we've learned how to swim. And what we're doing is we're building our competency and our consistency. And then once we kind of build a little bit more, well, we're not just inching up one level by one level. Our next real conceptual shift gets us to level 10, where we've got a few people working for us, and we've got, instead of just swimming, we can't swim anymore. We've got to build a raft to include all the people who work for us. So at that point, that's where we're really building on our expert status. And then once we've got that expert status built and solidified, and it really is, that's not a one and done. It's you learn how to achieve the status of an expert, and then it's an ongoing process to make sure you're staying ahead of the game and that you are delivering more than other attorneys. Well, then we're building kind of a bigger ship. And if you're familiar with ancient history, there's the trireme, where it's an oar-powered and sail-powered vessel. The idea is, look, you're still human-powered, but you can, everybody's pulling in the same direction, but you'll also have sails. This is going to be your systems that are being built out so that you can deliver more things. There is so much more I could say and more metaphors I could destroy trying to go through that. But what I want to go back to is that level 10, becoming the expert. Why? Because there was a concept that hit me the Friday before Thanksgiving. And I was just thinking over, we obviously finished the baseball season. And one of the statistics that comes up a lot in baseball is this value over replacement player. The idea that we can see how much a particular player contributes to his team over just an average player. And that average player is someone we could think of as they could come in, they can give you average results. You can be acquired for pretty much almost nothing in the market. A team can go out and get a replacement level player for minimal outlay at a moment's notice because those people are everywhere. But teams don't want that. They want people who are going to deliver high above a replacement level. And because they're going to deliver it above a replacement level, it means they're going to get above replacement level results. And so as experts, we want to be thinking about how can we develop our expertise so that we're more than a replacement attorney for our clients. And if you want to think about what happens, the return that we have on our skills tracks along with these levels. When we're level 0, we're actually below replacement level. We're too busy just trying to make ends meet. We aren't necessarily going to have a high replacement level. We're not an expert at this point. We're just learning how to get our bearings and do things. Once we've learned to swim, when we're working on consistency, we've got that product down. Well, at that point, we are working on consistency. We can think about ourselves as, look, we're a replacement level attorney in our practice area. Right now I am, we'd say I am below replacement level when it comes to litigation anything. I don't know what I'm doing. I could muscle through it if I had to, but you wouldn't want to hire me to do criminal defense or an adoption or anything else like that. So I'd be, below replacement level as a criminal defense attorney. When it comes to estate planning and tax matters, well, I'm going to be above replacement level because this is my practice area. This is what I'm doing. And because I'm board certified in tax and estate planning, I do this more often. This is what I'm focused on. But for replacement level, this would be something related to those practice areas, but where I don't do that often. So I don't deal with certain tax matters like ERISA or contested tax matters with the IRS. If I had to, I'd know more than the average attorney about it just because of my experience, but most attorneys wouldn't have much, like I'll be above replacement level, but I wouldn't be necessarily expert status in any of that. When we get to level 10, what we're going to see is that when we've developed that expertise, we've done the work, we've done the heavy thinking to figure out how to make the process and the results better for clients. Well, we're not going to see just kind of an incremental return on our price premium. We're actually going to be able to charge more because we're delivering better results. The fact that we know what we're doing and that we can come in and deliver a better result, get it done faster, get it done easier, get your results done with less effort, that's going to allow us to charge more in the market and basically deliver more for clients. And it's once we've got that expert status that we can start thinking about how do we really kind of do those fine touch service issues, because those fine touch service issues, those are the ones that people will tell you, oh, you've got to be like Zappos, or you've got to be like the Ritz-Carlton and have a Joshi story. But the problem is those are things that you can't really effectively deliver on if you're just starting out. And you're going to get distracted with saying, oh, well, I've got to have my Joshi story for anybody who comes in. But the reality is the Ritz-Carlton isn't doing a Joshi story for everybody who comes through their doors. They'd never have the time to do that. And plus, not everybody needs that. Not everybody is looking to say, oh, I hope I get this surprise story with my child stuffed animal. And plus, they don't have the people, even at their higher than market value, they're not doing that every day because not everybody wants it. So those are high risk, high reward options. But until you've got a price premium and a reason to put that out into the market, you're making some really heavy risks. I mean, I'll remember personally in my own practice, I got sidetracked onto this early when I was on my own. And I thought, okay, well, I've got this client coming in, potential client. They're a good referral source, and I'm going to just blow them away with something just over the top. I'm going to send them a gift. They will have no choice but to accept, to pick me to do their estate planning. And so I went, and they had just had a child. I went to my sister who does some custom embroidered table mat or placemats, and I had them made up for the family, one mom and dad and each of the kids, and I dressed them up and sent them over, and they hired somebody else. I spent $200 on a client that went somewhere else. Now, it doesn't mean I can't keep doing that, but the problem is I need to be sure that clients who come in after that sort of marketing spend are 100% guaranteed to have earned that spend. And the problem was I risked a lot of money comparatively. I mean, it was, $200 out of the total fee that I was going to charge them. They were not going to get that. Basically, I was charging more than $200, but it was just grossly out of proportion with what I should have been spending. If I had only I've seen people say, well, you should only spend about 6% of your budget on marketing. If you should only, 10%. I mean, if this was 10%, that's a huge risk. I'd need everybody to hit that out of the park. And ultimately, I'm taking that off the top of my profits, which ultimately keeps my firm going. So it's important to know that things like sending those placemats, my mistake doing that, the Joshi story involving people running around taking pictures of a stuffed animal. You can do it, but you really have to have the bandwidth and the financial bandwidth at that to make sure that it works and that you're going to see the return on that. And if you do it before you've got that price premium that's based on things other than these experience items, you're just going to be flushing money down the toilet. So we want to go back and think, all right, well, what should we be doing at these various levels? And so what we also want to make sure is that we're not getting distracted by what I call red herring products. Clients don't come to a law firm for placemats or drink menus or the ball pit at McDonald's. They're coming to us to move the needle. And so if we sell them something, and we're selling, even if they're not paying for it, they're ultimately, if they're not paying for it directly, they're still paying for it indirectly. If you have the fancy offices, while the client isn't necessarily paying right then and there for that office, ultimately you can trace the line from them paying to you being able to pay rent. And we don't want to get distracted with red herring products. And these are products that the client receives from you, but it doesn't ultimately move the needle for the client. So if you've got a great drink menu, clients don't come to lawyers for a drink menu. That's going to be a red herring product. That client was looking for an estate plan. They weren't trying to outsource production of the placemats to me. They didn't know that. They didn't know I was going to send that. I didn't tell them, hey, buy my estate plan and you'll get some new placemats. They probably would have said, thanks, but no thanks. We've got our own, or we're dealing with it in the way that we need to. And so I had taken it upon myself to basically become a procurement agent for my client. And to what end? It ended up losing me money. So when we think about what we sell to our customers, yes, everything that we send to them becomes part of their experience, but not everything. But that doesn't mean that because we're concerned about experience, we should be amping up every level of experience, because they're not hiring us for every experience. They can go to Disney for time well spent. So, if we come back to marketing, well, when we start thinking about what we do in the name of marketing, we're supposed to go spend money on swag and we can give away fun swag prizes to people. Again, that's a spend you're putting out in place of the client. That's a red herring, because clients aren't coming to you for the swag. Sure, they may think about you after it, but ultimately they're not they're coming to you to solve a problem. When we think about sales, well, any sort of incentive that you give to clients, discounting the price, if you come to me now, we'll give you this one other thing. There were lots of Black Friday sales. If you spend $100, we'll give you this. Well, that's a red herring, ultimately. Sure, if you're still buying a thing from that provider, but if you wouldn't have bought that, like you weren't going to buy that anyway, that's a red herring. You were buying something else. When we think about our physical products as a technical component business, well, that's where the idea that having a drink menu will change what people want and will make them come to you, which is insane. No lawyer is going to get hired because they have a drink menu. Sure, you've increased their experience, but your clients aren't coming to you for a drink menu. You're not the best provider of drinks around. And it then is going to see people saying, oh, well, we've got to optimize, the drink menu is now the standard option. But nobody's going to hire you for that. I mean, I won't be surprised in a few years when they say, oh, well, having the drinks isn't enough. You're going to need to have omelets ready, and not just any omelets. You need to have an omelet menu ready for your clients when they show up. That's nonsense. No lawyers, if you went onto another lawyer's website or their Google reviews and it said, Dave's, Smith and Smith had the best omelets around, what does that tell you about the quality of the lawyering? One, if they're mentioning the omelets, and two, why aren't they mentioning the actual service? So it just calls into question everything that you as a lawyer are doing if you're focused on the delivery of physical items that don't happen to deal with your service. Well, when we get to our technical components, we can have red herrings there. Look, again, lawyers offering service. Well, what if we had alternative service? For me as an estate planner, offering criminal defense services or family law service, that's one type of red herring product. But if I had said, well, no, come in and we're going to give you we've got massages available too. Why am I distracting people with massages when I'm not there to give massages? It's something that's not part of helping a client get their estate plan done. Finally, if we think about service, look, again, we want to deliver our technical expertise to our clients, but if it doesn't help the delivery of those technical services and helping the clients get their particular needle moved, then that's a red herring. So the fact that we deliver things poolside to clients wouldn't necessarily make that any better for a client. Their lawsuit won't go one bit better if you're poolside or not. And so we want to think about it as, look, we don't want to get distracted with these red herring products. So as we proceed through the different levels, level 1 or level 0, when we're just starting out, what do we need to be focused on? Well, we need to focus on what we're doing. What is our expertise and where are we focused? Are you an estate planner? Are you a criminal defense attorney? You've got to be focused on building your knowledge and your skills as part of that technical expertise. You need to know what you do and how you do it. When you progress to level 1, once you've learned how to not drown, you're learning how to swim. At this point, we're building consistency. So what we're going to do, we've got the knowledge from before. The Japanese concept of Kaizen. We're not really looking to necessarily add to the basic knowledge and the basic rules, but we'll pick up things here and there. Where can we get those tiny 1% improvements that will make us better time over time? We're going to build on our skills, and we're going to focus on that level 1 of how can we be more skillful and what new techniques can we learn? Because we'd already built out the basic knowledge of the practice area, so we can move on and start building on our service. The other thing we're going to build on once we've got to level 1 is our consistency. So level 0, we only have really one focus, building out our basic knowledge of the practice area. When we get to level 1, we're going to be focused on developing our skills and developing our consistency in that area. And when we do this, we're going to end up having throw-off net lessons to where we're going to learn things about marketing, things about sales, so that we can get better at how we deliver. But it's really not our focus at that point. We still want to be making sure that we're delivering consistently and we're figuring out better techniques. Once we end up at level 10, well, again, this is where we're heavily focusing at this point on our expert status. So we've got the knowledge down, we know the skills, how can we better employ those skills? And so this is where we're really building our expertise. At the same time, we're going to start thinking, for our knowledge and skills and our consistency, we're looking for those Kaizen style 1% improvements. While we build up, we're going to let things run. We're going to build our expert status, doing the writing and the speaking, so that people see us as the person to go to for those technical results. These are the clients we help. This is how we get things done. Finally, once we get past that expert status, we're building past level 10 and on to level 100. This is where we can start to think about, we can improve the physical product that we deliver. We can really focus on our marketing product, and we can focus on our sales. Why? We know who we are, we know what we do, and we know how we do it. Once we've got those things down, it makes the marketing and the sales so much easier to see. We know the people who are coming to us. We know the needles we can move for clients. And so the marketing gets drilled in on that basic stuff. When you're level 0 and level 1, You don't need to worry about complicated marketing tactics. You need to think about just the basics of getting up a basic website and getting on Google My Business. You can have some things that throw off from the rest of your practice to say, oh, well, we can tweak this language here and there, but you shouldn't be going in for wholesale, website revamping before you're the expert. Why? It's just going to be a low ROI result for you. You need to be focused on being the person who knows why people come to you and what you can do for them. So it took us a long time to get there, but ultimately we're going to progress on our practice focuses as we grow our business. Why? And we're going to always be thinking about, well, we're going to tailor the ROI for each of these investments as we grow our business. Level 0, we're focused on not drowning. So really, we've got to figure out what we're doing. We've got to stop being that door lawyer and focus in on criminal defense, family law, estate planning, whatever it is, narrowing it down so we know what we're doing, and then getting the rules of that practice area down. Once we've got that, well, level 1, we're just looking for consistency there. We're going to build out how we do this and how our skills can be developed. And then once we've got that, once we know how things work and what the skills are, and we know how to employ those skills, then we can focus on being the expert, writing and speaking on what we've learned and how we can do it better for clients. And it's only after we've got that expert status that allows us to have a higher price premium. We can charge more because we are the experts, because we can show that we have a higher value over a replacement attorney in our practice area. That's when we can start doing all the fun things that people have been saying. You can look for those high risk, high return service implementations, such as the Joshi, that may make sense, but it doesn't make sense before you've got the free capital to flow through this. So this has been I'm going to go ahead and close things down for this week. What we've got, though, coming up next week, we're going to come back to estate planning. We're going to come back to management. We're going to talk about how that's the service that you're delivering to your employees and what you should be looking to do. The week after that, we're going to be talking about developing your expert status. This has been John Strohmeyer with 5 Star Counsel. Thanks for tuning in.